This is round 7, the last round in the morning prelims at the 2019 NAQT High School National Championship Tournament. This game pits the 75 card against the 107 card. From Minnesota, we have Eden Prairie A, and from Ohio, we have Solon A. Both teams are ready to go. Best of luck to both teams. Here's toss-up 1. Josephus wrote that this sect, a member of the four sects, was supported by the common people, not the priestly class. Unlike a rival group, this faction believed in the oral Torah and resisted Hellenization. The book of Acts describes Paul as having been a member of this sect before... Yes?
Pharisees?
That's 10. Bonus. A 2019 single by this band describes the sight of wicked snakes inside a place you thought was dignified. For 10 points each, Harmony Hall is a single off Father of the Bride, the most recent album by what indie rock band fronted by Ezra Koenig?
Really? More bands?
I don't know.
Do we know any?
Answer?
21 Pilots.
Vampire Weekend. The video for Vampire Weekend's 2010 single, Giving Up the Gun, features many cameos, including one by this middle Jonas brother who fronts the band DNCE.
Okay, wait.
Generic
What are the
names?
Jonas fit?
Answer?
Derek.
Joe. This much-debated punctuation mark titles a song from Vampire Weekend's debut album that insists that rapper Lil Jon always tells the truth.
Okay, this...
Question mark? Exclamation point?
That's what I was thinking.
Question mark?
It's the Oxford comma. Nothing on the bonus. Toss-up 2. This body of water is the native home of both a prized whitefish called the omul and a freshwater seal known as the nurpa. This lake's Olcone Island... Yes?
Bicol.
15. Bonus.
Nice.
The MSW effect describes how these particles as flavor oscillations change when they pass through matter. For 10 points each, name these particles that are detected in large water tanks at observatories such as Super Cameoconde.
Neutrinos, right? Because they said oscillation of flavor.
Sure.
Neutrinos?
If a neutrino is its own antiparticle, then the Cobra experiment may be able to detect the neutrinoless double form of this process.
This process.
Something about neutrinos? Process?
Quantum
Answer?
tunneling?
Quantum tunneling.
Beta decay. Neutrinos display pronounced time dilation since they travel close to this speed, approximately 300 million meters per second.
Speed of light.
Speed of light.
Yeah, that's 20. Toss up 3. A self-portrait by this artist shows his face between the crucified Christ and the print, pot in the form of a grotesque head. A painting by this artist shows a woman hiding at the foot of a green sculptural group depicting the deposition. This painter gave Christ elongated arms in a work... Yes?
Gogon?
15. Bonus.
Yellow Christ.
Hermione introduces this novel's protagonist to drugs, a new mistress named Maria, and the saxophonist Pablo. For 10 points each, name this surreal German novel whose protagonist Terry Haller reads a treatise on the tidal wandering animal.
Steppenwolf?
Defer.
Steppenwolf?
Steppenwolf is by this author whose 1922 novel of spiritual self-discovery, Siddhartha, became popular in the U.S. in the 1960s.
Hesse.
Yes. This early Hesse novel, which follows the prodigy Hans Gieberonth, is a harsh critique of overly regimented academic learning.
Other Hesse novels?
Godspeed game.
Yeah.
Defer.
Answer?
Godspeed game?
No, it's Beneath the Wheel. 20 points, toss up 4. The fluctuation theorem implies that this statement is only true over large timescales. In a thought experiment, this law is violated as fast and slow particles are separated into two chambers by a... Yes?
Second law of thermodynamics?
15. Bonus. Of the 6 known genuine copies of this thing, 3 are on the pages of its creator's will. For 10 points each, name this bit of handwriting that also appears on a deposition from the lawsuit Bellet v. Mountjoy. Each of the known instances includes a decorative downward curl at the right of the opening W.
It's like a signature of someone.
Answer?
Fox.
Guy Fawkes signature.
How about Shakespeare's signature? William Henry Ireland forged many documents attributed to Shakespeare, including a signature on a supposed manuscript of this play about the father of Regan, Goneril, and Cordelia.
King Lear.
King Lear.
Ireland forged an entire play, Vortigern and Rowena, whose rights were bought by this playwright who created Mrs. Malaprop in The Rivals.
Sheridan?
Defer.
Sheridan?
20 points, toss up 5. The library cave from a complex in this present-day country was found to contain Manichaean and Nestorian texts. The Longmen grottos in this country housed... Yes?
China.
15. Bonus. The value of cash in circulation in this country is only 1% of its GDP. For 10 points each, name this the country that Cecilia Skingsley, the deputy governor of the Reichsbank, announced would likely go completely cashless in the next 5 years.
Germany. Okay. Germany.
Sweden. The Reichsbank is investigating possible designs for a digital version of this Swedish currency, whose name means crown.
Wow.
Answer?
No answer.
Krona. Many Swedes currently use the Swedish mobile payment system, similar to the namesake Pay service developed by this company that makes the iPhone.
Apple.
Yeah, that's 10. Toss up 6. Several perpetrators of this event, including Peter Haywood, were on board the ship Pandora when it sank near the Great Barrier Reef. A 1932 novel named for this event was written by Charles Nordhoff and James Hall. This event occurred during a voyage to acquire breadfruit in Tahiti. Fletcher Christian... Yes?
Mutiny on the Bounty?
10. Bonus. This man declared that old soldiers never die, they just fade away. In a 1951 speech he delivered to Congress. For 10 points each, name this general who was relieved of command in the Korean War by Harry Truman in that year.
Defer.
MacArthur.
This man replaced MacArthur as commander of UN forces in Korea. In 1953, he became chief of staff of the U.S. Army.
I don't know.
Let's go with
Dulles.
Matthew Ridgway. In 1950, Truman and MacArthur met on this Pacific island to discuss the Korean War. The Japanese military launched an attack on this island hours after attacking Pearl Harbor in 1941.
Like the Philippines? How about Guam?
Guam.
Wake Island. 10 points, toss up 7. In a remix of this song, Joel Ortiz urges American Express How You Feel and take the credit. That remix is the second track on a 2016 mixtape. In this song's first verse, a man quotes Mobb Deep's Shook Ones Part 2 to say he's only 19, but his mind is older, then spells his name. Yes.
Stressed out.
Nick 5. John Lawrence asks crowds to rise up in, for 10 points, what Broadway song in which Alexander Hamilton is not throwing away a path to fame? Yes.
My shot.
10 bonus. For 10 points each, answer the following about Interstate 93. Part of Interstate 93 was moved underground during the infamously expensive Big Dig in this most populous Massachusetts city.
Boston. Yep, Boston.
Interstate 93 passes through Franconia Notch State Park in this mountain range of northern New Hampshire, which contains Mount Washington.
Yeah, dang. Presidential.
Answer?
Presidential.
It's the White Mountains. In Franconia Notch, Interstate 93 was built with only one lane in each direction to preserve this natural rock formation on Cannon Mountain, depicted on New Hampshire's state quarter. It collapsed in 2003.
I have no idea. No answer.
It's the Old Man of the Mountain. 10 points, toss up 8. In a story whose title includes this given name, Beppo searches for a pearl by smashing plaster busts. Alberon Quinn becomes King of England in a G.K. Chesterton novel in which Adam Wayne is known as a person of this name of Notting Hill. Another character with this name employs Squealer and takes power after exiling Snowball. The antagonist... Yes.
Napoleon.
10 bonus. For 10 points each, answer the following about Lindlar's catalyst. As a catalyst, it works by reducing this quantity.
Activation energy. Yeah. Activation energy.
It catalyzes hydrogenation reactions using this silvery white platinum group metal. Answer?
Indium.
I'm sorry?
Indium.
No, palladium. It selectively converts alkynes to alkenes because it has a lead salt to facilitate this process, which partially deactivates the catalyst.
This process.
Reduction.
No, it's poisoning. So 10 points, toss up 9. This composer included an MTV for Jerry and a two-step for Mr. B and his dance suite for Brass Quintet. Gabby dreams about Ivy Smith and an imaginary Coney Island while on 24-hour shore leave, and a work by this composer that includes a Times Square ballet. In a stage work with music by this man, Something's Coming is sung by Tony, a member of the Jets. Yes.
Bernstein.
10 bonus.
Good job.
In 2005, this author founded the charity Lumos, which shares its name with a spell from her best-known book series.
Rowling.
For 10 points, name this author of the Harry Potter novels.
Rowling.
Yes. Since 2013, Rowling has used this male pseudonym to publish a series of novels about private investigator Cormoran Strike.
Actually, I have no idea what this is.
Elliot.
Elliot.
Robert Galbraith. Between Harry Potter and the Cormoran Strike series, Rowling wrote this 2012 novel about the death of local politician Barry Fairbrother.
Rowling books that are
like
not
a
Harry
murder
Potter?
mystery for J.K. Rowling.
Answer?
Hunt in the Fog.
The Casual Vacancy, 10 points, toss up 11. I'm sorry, toss up 10. The slaty form of this property involves parallel foliation in a direction perpendicular to the direction of greatest stress. The perfect basal form of this property is displayed by biotite, muscovite, and other micas, which can thus be peeled into thin sheets. Fracture is often contrasted with, for 10, yes?
Cleavage?
10 bonus. This book's author describes encountering intense lawn chairs and ponders whether schizophrenia is a similar state of being constantly overwhelmed. For 10 points each, name this 1954 work that chronicles its author's experience taking mescaline.
Lolita.
Defer.
Answer.
Diary of a Madman.
I'm sorry?
Diary of a Madman.
The Doors of Perception, which is a work by this British author of Brave New World.
Defer.
Huxley.
Yes, The Doors of Perception inspired the name of the Jim Morrison-fronted rock band The Doors, whose songs include this track that begins, "You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day."
What was they asking? The band?
Track name.
So much
Track name.
trash.
Answer?
I don't know.
Break on through to the other side. 10 points, toss up 11. One of these objects depicts an argument over blood money in a city also filled with weddings. 12 of these objects, called the Ancilia, were kept in the Temple of Mars. Another of them, made of 7 layers of cowhide, belongs to Ajax. An object that was either a goat skin or one of these things bears the severed head of Medusa. Yes.
Shield.
10 bonus. Retrograde transport in this organelle is mediated by COP1 proteins. For 10 points each, name this organelle which packages and labels proteins after they have been processed by the endoplasmic reticulum.
Golgi apparatus.
Unlike in animals, plant Golgi frameworks are made of this protein that makes up microfilaments. Myosin binds to this protein to facilitate muscle contraction.
Actin.
In the Golgi, a phosphorylated derivative of this sugar is added to proteins to facilitate transport to the lysosome.
Manos.
That's 30.
Good job.
At the half, the score is Eden Prairie 170, Solon 105, and we are going into toss-up 12. Best of luck. This author wrote many stories in which patrons of a bar called the Angler's Rest listen to far-fetched tales about the relatives of Mr. Mulliner. A pig known as the Empress appears in this author's stories about Blanding's Castle. In another series by this author, Aunt Agatha and Aunt Dahlia complicate the life of their nephew, Bertie Wooster. For 10 points, what Englishman wrote comic stories about the... Yes?
Wodehouse.
10 bonus. Operation Canned Goods was a covert plan to create justification to invade this country. For 10 points each, in this country that Germany attacked on September 1st, 1939 to spark World War II.
Poland.
Operation Canned Goods involved German agents dressed as Poles, making it this kind of deceptive action in which a country disguises its own forces to attack itself for propaganda purposes.
Espionage.
Answer?
Espionage.
False flag. Operation Canned Goods was supervised by this senior Nazi who led the occupation of Czechoslovakia, where he was assassinated in 1942.
Heydrich.
That's 20. Toss up 13. A commutative ring has an identity element and no zero divisors is a domain named for this type of number. An equivalence relation on quotients of these numbers is used to define the rational numbers. A Diophantine equation is an equation whose solutions must be this kind of number. The letter Z denotes for yes.
Integer.
10 bonus. A governor of this state created, then shut down the Anti-Corruption Moreland Commission. For 10 points each, name the state whose Assembly Speaker, Sheldon Silver, and Senate Majority Leader, Dean Scalos, were both convicted of corruption in 2018.
Illinois.
Probably Illinois.
New York. This current governor of New York was criticized for ending the Moreland Commission and preventing it from investigating his allies.
Cuomo.
This Republican New York congressman, who was indicted for insider trading in August 2018, narrowly won re-election in November.
What?
I have no idea who this
Lamb.
is. Lamb.
I'm sorry?
Lamb.
No, Chris Collins, 10 points, toss up 14. A politician who supported this action accused an opponent of letting his Elliott side take over before a failed 1980 referendum on it. Bill 99 and a Federal Clarity Act were passed following a failed 1995 referendum on this action. A terrorist group that kidnapped James Cross, yes?
Quebec secession.
10. Bonus. Protanopia and deuteranopia are subtypes of this general deficiency. For 10 points each, name this deficiency that is more common in males. Ishihara plates contest for this abnormality.
Colorblindness.
In red-green colorblind patients, these cells that sense color vision are lost or abnormal. Unlike rods, they have high acuity.
Cones.
Yes, both rods and cones synapse directly on cells described by this adjective. Cyclothymia is a milder form of disease named for this one-word adjective.
One word.
Bipolar. Bipolar.
Yeah, that's 30. Toss up 15. This poem describes singing voices that are more distant and more solemn than a fading star. A group of figures in this poem are described as shape without form. Yes?
Hollow Man.
15. Bonus. For 10 points each, name these family members of 20th century American kidnapping victims. In 1936, a carpenter named Bruno Hauptmann was executed for allegedly kidnapping and murdering this aviator's son.
Charles Lindbergh.
Lindbergh.
Yes. In 1974, the Symbionese Liberation Army kidnapped this newspaper magnate's granddaughter, Patty, who ended up participating in the group's robberies.
I don't know. Hearst.
Hearst.
In 1973, this industrialist negotiated down the ransom of his 16-year-old grandson to the maximum amount that was tax deductible.
Maybe like Rockefeller or something.
That's what I was thinking.
Sure.
Rockefeller.
J. Paul Getty,
Oh, no.
20 points, toss up 16. In 2014, this man was suspended for throwing his bat at Fernando Abad. This player said hustling wasn't his cup of tea during the 2018 playoffs, in which he became the last out in the World Series. After being traded to the Dodgers in mid-2018, this infielder became a free agent and signed with an NL West team. The San Diego Padres gave a $300 million contract to, for 10 points, what former Orioles third baseman? Yes?
David Ortiz.
No penalty? Yes?
Smith.
Manny Machado, toss-up 17. During this scandal, Larry Flint's campaign to expose Republican misdeeds led Bob Livingston to resign from Congress. One figure in this scandal was urged by a friend not to dry clean an incriminating blue garment. Yes,
Monica Lewinsky.
15.
Nice buzz.
For 10 points each, name these authors of works sometimes claimed to be the first English novel. The honor of first English novel has sometimes been applied to this author's books, Moll, Flanders, and Robinson Crusoe.
Defoe. Defoe.
Yes. This author of Clarissa charted the manipulative seductions and proposals of Mr. B in his sensational first novel, 1740's Pamela.
Samuel.
Richards.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. This female author, best known for restoration comedies like The Rover, wrote about an African prince being sold into slavery in her 1688 novel Orinoco.
I don't know. I don't know.
No answer.
Demaria.
I'm sorry?
No
Demaria.
answer.
No, Alfred Bain. So 20 points, toss up 18. These objects absorb and re-emit gamma rays without recoil in the Mossbauer effect. The attractive pull toward one of these objects is reduced by factors of 0.35, 0.85, and 1 in Slater's rules. The symbol Z sub E... yes. Time, Nick 5. The symbol Z sub EFF denotes these objects' effective charge, which is reduced by adjacent negative charges in an effect called shielding. Electrons surround for 10 points what object composed of protons and neutrons? Yes.
Atomic nucleus.
10. Bonus, pencil and paper ready. 2 dice, one with 6 sides and one with 20 sides, are simultaneously rolled. For 10 points each, what is the probability that both dice show an even number? For all parts, you should assume the sides are marked from 1 to 6 and 1 to 20, respectively.
1 even.
Yeah.
1/4.
What is the probability of getting doubles in which both dice show the same number?
1/20.
Answer?
6/20.
No, 1 over 20. What is the probability that the sum of the dice is 3? You have 10 seconds.
Just 2/20. 1/10.
Yeah.
1/10.
No, it's 160. So 10 points, toss up 19.
Oh, yeah.
Timeout.
Yeah, you're
What's
right.
the score going?
I have 230 to
Forgot to
220.
The score check as soon as India's ready.
They're ready.
Yeah. How many? What's the clock?
10 points on the bonus, yes.
What's the time?
All right, I have Eden Prairie
3:12.
20, Solon 230.
All right.
What's the time?
3 minutes and
3:12.
12 seconds left on the clock. What was it again?
220.
Okay.
Yep. Let's go.
3 minutes, 12 seconds left on the clock.
Very winnable. Yeah.
Brent.
How many
10
questions?
points and Solon is up, correct?
Okay, let's go.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. All right. Both sides ready to resume?
Yep.
Whatever happens, gentlemen, you have all played an excellent game. Best of luck.
Thank you.
All right. With 3 minutes and 12 seconds left on the clock, the score is 220 for Eden Prairie A, 230 for Solon A, and this is toss-up 19. A member of this ethnic group is the namesake of Apoism, the official policy of the Syrian breakaway state Rojava. Yes,
Kurds?
15 bonus. This character tries to organize a Seinfeld reunion as a ploy to win back his ex-wife Cheryl. For 10 points each, name this protagonist of an HBO comedy series that began airing in the year 2000.
More trash?
I don't know. Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Answer?
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Larry David. The fictionalized character of Larry David appears on this show, which was
Curb
created...
Your Enthusiasm.
Yes. At the end of Curb Your Enthusiasm's 5th season, Larry dies and goes to heaven, where he argues about a DVD storage system with an angel played by this star of Rain Man.
Rain Man? Ray Romano.
Dustin Hoffman, 10 points, toss-up 20. This author wrote a novel in which Mugo betrays a resistance fighter to the British, a fact he confesses years later during a celebration of independence, or Uhuru. In another novel by this author, Jacobo is killed during the Mau Mau uprising some months after the show trial of Jomo Kenyatta. For 10 points, name this Kenyan author of A Grain of Wheat and Weep Not Child. Yes?
Kenyatta.
No, no penalty? Yes.
Ngongo.
Say that again, please.
Ngongo.
Spell that.
Ngongo.
Incorrect. It's Ngugi. Ngugi wa Thiong'o. So that is no penalties on either side, and this is toss-up 21. According to Bernal Diaz, this lake southwest was once separated by a 10-mile-long causeway from a more saline portion. This lake lay north of the freshwater Lake Chalco, the site of floating gardens called Chinampas. The volcano, yes,
Like Texacoco.
10. Bonus.
buzz.
Rocks from the Bu Cra phosphate mines are shipped across this region via the world's longest conveyor belt system. For 10 points each, in this contested territory where those rocks travel to the city of El Ayoun.
What? I don't know. Western Sahara.
Okay.
Western Sahara.
The Polisario Front rebel group currently disputes the region of Western Sahara with this country, whose capital is Rabat.
Capital. Morocco. Go. Morocco.
Yes. The Polisario Front proclaimed an Arab Democratic Republic in the Western Sahara named for these people. The name of this group derives from the Arabic for people of the desert.
Yeah. Yep. Berbers.
I know, Sarawi. 20 points, toss-up 22. A holder of this office was the addressee of the Scripta Tuae letter. Under the Ottoman Empire, the head of this office headed the Millet of Rum. The Apostle Andrew is considered the first holder of this office, which oversees all 20 monasteries on Mount Athos. Its current holder, Bartholomew I, attended the inauguration of Pope Francis... Yes.
The Moon Cyril Patriarch, like the Patriarch of the East.
Say that again, please.
Patriarch of Constantinople.
That is 10.
Nice.
Bonus. Name these, for 10 points each, name these prominent families of Renaissance Italy. Members of this banking family from Florence included Lorenzo the Magnificent and the Popes Leo X and Clement VII.
Medici.
Francisco I was the first Duke of Milan from this family, whose other members included Ludovico.
Sforza.
Oh, is it
Milan, yeah. Sforza.
Pope Paul III was part of this family, which ruled the Duchy of
Yes,
Parma and clashed with the
surely, it's
Barberini.
Borgia.
Borgia.
No, Farnese. 20 points, toss up 23. This is the most common disease that worsens in the heat and an effect called Uthoff's phenomenon. Scanning speech, intention tremor, and nystagmus form Charcot's triad for diagnosing this disease. Yes?
Parkinson's?
I'm sorry?
Parkinson's?
Nick 5, which is more common among women and at higher latitudes. This disease occurs when antibodies attack oligodendrocytes, which create the myelin sheath in the brain. For 10 points, name this disease abbreviated MS. Go ahead. Time. It's multiple sclerosis. Toss up the last. A group of 10 of these figures, including one who was supposedly orphaned and raised by monkeys, are known as the 10 Braves. These figures would often use an item called a hoppo, a hollowed-out egg filled with explosive powder. The Kogo clan was one group of these people, whose other common weapons include a star called a shuriken. Yes?
A ninja?
10. Bonus?
Let's go.
The first of these suites include At Lake Wallenstadt and the Bells of Geneva, and its depictions of Switzerland. For 10 points each, name these 3 suites for piano, inspired by the 3 years their composer spent traveling through Europe.
Is this list like pilgrimage something? Like song?
Answer?
Pilgrimage of the Years.
Pilgrimage of the Years.
I have years of pilgrimage.
Okay.
This romantic Hungarian piano virtuoso who
Liszt.
inspired a namesake Mania. I'm sorry?
Liszt.
Yes. Liszt's early works include a variation on a waltz by this composer and music publisher. The same waltz was the subject of a massive cycle of 33 variations by Beethoven.
He wrote something called the Mephisto Waltz, but I don't know what
Brahms? I got
Answer?
no clue.
Brahms.
Diabelli, the Diabelli variations.
Oh.
So that is 10 on the bonus.
Clutch
Ninja.
Ninja.
Final score.
That was such a
Ninja.
trash clue.
Prairie 295, Solon 255.
I have
Final score is Eden Prairie 295, Solon 255. Excellent game, both sides. Congratulations.